We tend to think of college dorms as, well, as safe places, places for learning, for community. But today we're sharing 3 verified accounts where that idea of safety just completely falls apart.
It's the violation of a personal space. A dorm room is supposed to be your sanctuary. But in these stories, it becomes the source of the terror. Trust is automatic, and that's the vulnerability.
Exactly. And we're going to walk through these events moment by moment to really understand when that trust was broken. So our first story, it happens during a student's junior year. He's living in a suite, you know, the kind. 4 separate bedrooms, 1 shared common area. And one of his suite mates moves out. So the university just assigns a replacement, a guy named Rodney.
Standard procedure. Completely random.
Completely. Yeah. And from the start, Rodney is different. He's described as really tall, like 6'4", quiet, almost unnerving. He keeps to himself.
That silence, that isolation, it's often the first thing people notice. It creates a sense of otherness.
Right. And then a few days in, Rodney approaches the narrator for their first real conversation. And it's a bombshell. He says he has parasomnia, a severe sleep disorder.
Which can involve night terrors, talking, sleepwalking, a whole range of things.
Exactly. He explains that's why he was transferred from his last dorm. He says he's just trying to be transparent so they, won't be freaked out.
It's a very strategic disclosure. It immediately frames any weird behavior as a medical issue. Oh. It almost puts the burden on the roommates to be understanding.
And then narrator says he felt this deep unease, not just because of the condition, but because Rodney was telling him and no one else. It felt managed. Then the incidents start, just mysterious knocks on his door, late at night. He'd call out, "Who is it?" And nothing, just silence. He asked his friends, but no one would admit to it.
It's classic boundary testing. A knock is deniable. It's ambiguous. But it's also deeply unsettling.
It gets more frequent and then it escalates. A few nights later, around 2 a.m., he hears footsteps right outside his door. And then the knock. He knows it's Rodney. He just has this feeling. The next day, he confronts him about it.
And what does Rodney say?
He apologizes. Says, it's the sleepwalking, part of his parasomnia. But then he says it's completely harmless.
Completely harmless. That's a phrase designed to end the conversation right there.
Right. But it wasn't harmless. Not at all. 4 nights later, it gets so much worse. The narrator wakes up, but not to a sound outside his door. The sound is inside his room.
Oh, no.
He looks over, and Rodney is standing in the corner of the room, just facing the wall, muttering to himself.
Wow.
He calls out his name, Rodney, and Rodney turns, but he doesn't. He doesn't really see him. He looks right through him, and then he smiles, this little weird smile.
It's terrifying.
And he laughs, a quiet laugh, and starts saying over and over, "Open the door, open the door."
That's the moment this stops being a story about a sleep disorder. The empty look, the smile, that command, it's something else entirely.
Rodney then just walks out of the room. A few moments of silence pass.
Yeah.
And then all hell breaks loose. Just this deafening, violent banging fills the whole suite. It's Rodney throwing himself against another suite mate's door.
Oh my God.
And he's screaming at the top of his lungs, "Open the door!" like the narrator said, a maniacal madman.
The other 3 guys manage to run out and shake him awake, and he just stops.
Yeah.
He looks at them with this blank expression, says, "I'm sorry, guys," and goes back to his room.
Yeah, and the campus police.
They arrive, but by the next day, Rodney is just gone. Oh. The university moved him out without a word, no explanation, nothing.
Which points to a massive institutional failure. They knew he had this issue, and they just shuffled him around until this happened. The narrator said he was certain they didn't feel like sleepwalking. It felt targeted, it felt violent, and you just don't know what you're dealing with. So that story is about the threat you're forced to live with. This next one is different. It's about an invader who uses mimicry to get in and out.
The imposter scenario. It preys on our brain's shortcuts, especially when we're tired or not fully alert. We accept things that seem familiar.
Exactly. So picture this. A dorm room, bunk beds. The narrator is on the top bunk. Her roommate, Stacy, is on the bottom. Stacy's a really deep sleeper, which is why she took the bottom bunk. And the narrator has a big presentation the next day, so she's up late studying. Stacy's already fast asleep, snoring, in fact.
So the scene is set. One person awake and stressed, the other completely out.
Right. And it gets to be about 5 a.m. The sun is just starting to come up. The narrator is dozing off, and she hears someone walking around below her. She's groggy, half asleep, and she remembers Stacy had offered to let her borrow a nice top for her presentation. So she just calls down, kind of mumbles, "Hey, can I still borrow that top?"
And this is the critical moment.
The figure below just goes, "Mm-hmm." Twice. Just this little affirmative sound.
Non-committal. Low effort. but just enough to sound normal.
Perfect, right. Then she hears the closet door open. She peeks over the edge of the bunk and sees a figure bent over, rummaging in the closet. Then the person stands up, turns, waves at her, and just walks out of the room, shutting the door. A totally normal, brief interaction.
The wave is brilliant. It's such a disarming, friendly gesture. It completely neutralizes any potential alarm.
For a moment, she just thinks, oh, Stacy must be up early. But then, just seconds after the door closes, she hears it.
The snore.
A loud snore coming from the bottom bunk. She leans over, pulls back the sheets, and there's Stacy, dead asleep.
Wow.
And the closet door is still open, proving it wasn't a dream. Someone was in her room. Someone pretended to be her roommate, went through her closet, waved at her, and left.
The efficiency of it is what's so chilling. 3 simple actions: a sound, a movement toward the closet, a wave. That's all it took to exploit her groggy state and get away clean.
She wakes Stacy up, they check everything, and nothing was stolen. Campus police reviewed the lobby cameras, but the investigation went nowhere. The person just vanished.
Which leaves this terrifying question. What was the motive? Was it a botched robbery? Or was the act of getting in, of being there, was that the point?
We'll never know. And that ambiguity makes it so much worse. Okay, so our last story. This one might be the most unnerving. It takes us to the University of Alabama, freshman year, back in 2013. And this isn't about a medical condition or a mimic. This is about cold, calculated deception.
This is where we see the system itself failing, creating an opportunity for someone with criminal intent. It's less about psychology and more about exploiting administrative loopholes.
So the narrator is supposed to have a roommate, but the guy cancels the last minute. So for that first freshman weekend, he has the room to himself. Then, on Sunday night, there's a knock. A man is at the door. He says he's the replacement roommate. Calls himself Robert, but says, call me Bob. He has a slight Turkish accent.
Okay, so far so good. Seems plausible.
But the red flags start immediately. Bob's only luggage is a single backpack.
That's it. For a whole semester.
That's it. He pulls a single sheet out of the backpack, puts it on the bed, and then uses the backpack itself as a pillow. The narrator offers him a spare pillow, which he takes, but the whole thing just looks wrong. Incredibly uncomfortable.
And as a freshman, you're not going to challenge that. You're anxious, you want to get along, so you just ignore that screaming gut feeling.
Ignore it. And that night, the narrator wakes up. The room is dead silent.
Yeah.
Too silent. He can't even hear Bob breathing, so he rolls over and just screams.
What did he see?
A tall figure just looming over his bedside. It was Bob, just standing there, watching him.
That is a pure dominance move. It's meant to intimidate, to establish control and fear.
Bob just apologizes, says he was just going to the bathroom. But the narrator is so terrified he doesn't even ask the obvious question. Why were you standing over my bed to get to the bathroom? The next morning, he feels like his bag has been gone through, things are moved, he knows something's wrong. He immediately puts in for a room change, just citing, discomfort.
Smart move. He's documenting it.
He comes back to the room later that day, Bob is there, and he has a new duffel bag now, which he puts under his bed. Then he just sits and stares at the narrator, this empty, unnerving expression. The narrator is desperate to get out. He's just waiting for the housing office to respond. He checks his email on his phone, and there it is, an email from housing.
What does it say?
It says they're confused by his room change request. It says his replacement roommate has not yet been assigned.
Oh, no.
And that there should be, quote, no one else in the room.
So Bob is a complete stranger, a total imposter.
A total imposter. The narrator looks up from his phone at Bob. Bob looks back at him, and the narrator said, I think he knew that I knew.
That must have been an absolutely terrifying moment of realization.
He just silently gets up, grabs his laptop, his wallet, his keys, doesn't say a word, walks out of the room, down the hall, and once he's safely outside, he calls campus police. By the time they got there, of course, Bob was gone. The new duffel bag was gone too. They checked what was stolen.
Let me guess. Small, easily transportable items.
Exactly. Some clothes, an iPhone charger, and some snacks he had in the closet. It wasn't some master criminal. It was likely a transient, someone who found a loophole in the university's move-in chaos and got a warm bed and a chance to steal a few things by watching a student sleep.
It's a calculated violation of the highest order, and a terrifying example of how easily security systems can fail.
So when you look at all three of these accounts, Rodney, the 5 a.m. waiver, Bob, they really show how vulnerable you can be in a place that's sold to you as a community. The danger can come from a medical condition that's not being managed, from a sinister mimic, or from someone just lying their way through the front door.
And the final thought for you, the listener, is this. These stories force you to question that automatic trust we place in shared spaces. It makes you ask, how well do you really know the person on the other side of that wall?
Thank you for joining us for these chilling accounts. If you found these terrifying stories compelling, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Horror Docs, for more true horror narratives.
Goodbye.